This is the Cafe Racer podcast, episode 11.
Back
No,
in time. We
episode
went way back in time.
5 for December 11th, 2015. I'm a moron.
There's the 11. It's December 11th. I'm Crash. All right. So how's it going?
You know, I swear we do not do this on purpose.
No, we really don't. It's all organic. We
It's
just suck at intros.
buffoonery. I'm all right, man. I've had a busy last few weeks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, between Thanksgiving, going to my mom's, and then coming home. The wife went to our hunt property in Georgia, and then I rode up there on the KTM, which was an absolute blast. I'll tell you about that.
Oh, I bet.
It was so much fun. And then she shot a really nice 8-point deer. So we got venison coming.
Cool. Maybe you can explain this to me. I'm not a hunter. What is this whole like point thing?
It's just the number of tips on the rack of the deer. So
Okay.
if you see a rack and it's got like 2 on one side and 2 on the other side, that's 4 points. A typical rack would be even, where there's this equal number of points on the same side and they look the same.
Mhm.
Or an atypical rack would be like 3 on one side, 2 on the other, and they're kind of weird shape. But this rack with hers, there was 4 points on both sides and it was perfectly shaped.
Oh, cool.
Really nice. And we cleaned it, took it to the processor, which is right near the camp, and it was about 175-pound deer. So we'll get some nice meat out of it. You know what? We're not trophy hunters, and honestly, I'm really not. It's my wife's thing. She's a Southern girl. She likes hunting a lot. It's primarily she likes it more than I do. But I took a really great motorcycle trip up there. Florida kind of sucks just no matter what. There's very few good roads in Florida. So I kind of got up to Jasper, Florida, which is off of I-75 north of like the Gainesville area, and got off on 441 and took that up into Georgia, and then ended up on a road that was called 257 that kind of way through.
I think you've told me about 257 before.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I posted a couple pictures. I'll post some more weeks. I'm going to do a review. I took the Moscow Moto Backcountry 40 with me, which was really nice, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But those roads kind of wind in and out of cotton fields, and there was really hardly any traffic on it. The speed limit I was able to maintain. For anybody who's listening who's Georgia law enforcement, please cover your ears now. The speed limit was 35. Yeah, and I was able to maintain between 70 and 90 on most of these roads.
Nice.
No one around. It was beautiful. I got up there the Thursday after Thanksgiving and stayed the weekend, left Sunday, and when I left Sunday, which I didn't even know the bike had this, an ice warning started flashing on the dash. I kid you not.
Really?
I swear to God.
Your bike has an ice warning.
Has an ice warning. So I'm thinking it looked at the temperature, which was like 36 on the bike at 7 o'clock in the morning, and said, warning, you're going to have ice somewhere, maybe. So I can tell you something else too, that heated grips and a heated seat are the cat's ass. That is so nice because it made all the difference in the world. But there was a little bit of off-road riding on this trip too, because the road into the hunt camp is that red Georgia clay.
Mm-hmm.
And our camp is actually on like pulpwood property. So they had been logging there. So there was a lot of ruts. There were trucks that were moving in and out of there during the week. And there was some fresh gravel that they had laid down. So, I honestly didn't really know what to expect from all this electronics around the bike. And, people will tell me, well, turn off the traction control and turn off the ABS. Well, I'm not that good of an off-road rider to do that yet. So
right.
And actually, when I left the house on Thursday, it was pouring down rain. So I had it in rain mode when I left. And when I got up to the area of the camp, I put it in off-road mode for the power and the damping. And then the ABS has an off-road mode. So I put it in that as well. But I never, made any panic stops or anything like that. The bike handled really well in loose gravel. I just kind of stood up on the pegs and let it float underneath me. It was fine on the clay, even where it was wet. The only time it got a little weird is when I got in some deep ruts, but I just gassed it and let it go, and it was okay. Now, I got to tell you, the only time I almost dumped the bike over is when I got to the gate of the hunt camp. On the outside of the gate, there's grass and kind of packed dirt, so I put the kickstand down, got off the bike, went and unlocked the gate, got back on the bike to ride it in. What I should have done was rode it all the way into the camp and then came back and locked the gate. Instead, I tried to get off of it there, and the ground was really uneven and soft. So as soon as I get off the bike and put the weight down on the stand, what I thought was solid ground wasn't. So all of a sudden it started going over. Well, I grabbed it, and then I had to try to push it uphill. So I figured this isn't going to work. I started it, put it in gear, and kind of walked it in gear up the hill until I found an area where I could put the stand down, and then was able to go back and lock the gate. But
does anybody make like a kickstand foot that attaches to your existing kickstand and makes it a bigger foot?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things. The first thing I'm going to add is Alt-Rider makes one, Tortec makes one, SW Motec makes one. So I've been doing a little research on ADV Rider. There's also a company, believe it or not, out of the UK that makes one called the Camel Toe. That yeah, it's actually kind of cool looking, and they make it in KTM orange, but it's a little on the pricey side compared to even the Alt-Rider. So. And
oddly enough, with that reference, I was I drove past a tow truck. The name of the company was Camel Tow, TOW.
Yeah, my son sent me one down here. There's one called Camel Towing that he sent me a picture of, which I thought was pretty funny. But the trip was phenomenal. The bag, I got to tell you, Crash, Moscow Moto, man, they make a great product. I was thoroughly impressed with that bag. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, I was looking at Spencer's pictures and stuff like that. I really like those bags a lot.
I had it packed with all my sleeping gear because I had brought my Nemo bag, and air mattress, and a tarp, and bike cover, and all my winter riding gear. And it still had a lot of room in it. And I only used 2 rock straps on the stock KTM rear plate. Fine, no problem. Very, very
nice.
Yeah, real solid, real well made. So then that was great, and I got back, and I've been working nonstop. And the wife took an extra week, and she went and stayed at my mom's and helped out, and then came back, and we're planning on going back up after Christmas just to pick up the deer meat and maybe do another couple days of hunting. She'd like to go back for a week. But the weather's been so nice here, except for a little bit of rain. It's like perfect riding season right now. How about you?
I actually just got the bike back. Let me look at the calendar. So I think last episode we talked about how I had sent the bike over to Lee from pmracks.com.
Right.
And he got me the bike back middle of last week. So I got to ride it a couple times, rode it to work this past week. Mm-hmm. And I'll actually screen share. I've got a picture that I put up on our Instagram. I must have put it up on Instagram. I did that. So, anyway, for those of you that are watching the video, that's weird. The screen share is not working.
Even works, and I'm gonna.
What's that?
I said if the video actually even works, and I'm gonna apologize ahead of time. Primarily, we're a podcast, an audio podcast.
Yeah.
We don't really produce a video show. It's not made as a vlog or a video podcast. It's not available on iTunes, but it does go to YouTube. But last show, for some unknown reason, Google Hangouts only recorded 16 minutes of the show video-wise, and in the middle of the show, not even from the beginning. So,
Interesting.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Well, for some reason, it's not even letting me screen share. So,
if I got that turned off, maybe.
I don't know. Well, when I click screen share, it's asks me what screen I want to share, but there's no options. Like I can't select any screens. So whatever. Anywho, just to describe the rack, previously I had his, he makes some off-road bikes, luggage racks, and then some saddlebag racks for the Triumph Bonneville, 2015 and older, like 2003 to 2015 or whatever it is, Bonnevilles. And they are pretty much an exact copy, with the exception of how the bottom one mounts. They're pretty much an exact copy of the factory racks. And they're made out of a 1/2-inch tube, nothing too substantial. And I had him modify a set of those to fit my Ortlieb Moto dry bags. They're quick release bags that need some kind of like a rectangle or oval mount match properly. So I had him modify a set of racks so that I could fit my bags on better. And he did that. It was, really the price of his rack, his work was really reasonable. And then, this was a few years ago. Well, they were so far forward on the bike that you really couldn't ride with the passenger and the bags on at the same time. And so he's here in San Diego. And I was like, hey, I know, the last time we talked, you said you couldn't make anything super bike specific because you didn't have a Bonneville to like build off of. But I live in San Diego now. Can we get together and maybe modify these or make something new? So he did. I gave him my bike, and he built an entirely new setup that moves the bags backwards about 4 or 5 inches. They're back about as far as they could be and still look okay on the bike without looking like they're hanging off the tail too far. But it's all out of 5/16 tubing, so it's super strong. And then he even put a crossbar that goes from one rack, like one side to the other. I mean, you could lift the bike up by this thing at this point.
In the back, the crossbar is?
Yeah, the crossbar goes at the very back from one rectangle to the other, just basically right under my license plate. And it is solid. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say you could lift the whole bike up with this thing now. To be honest, it's going to make it really handy for those moments when there's been a few times I need to like scoot the bike around. It's a great place to grab onto and like yank the bike around now. And he was pushing when we put the bike back in my truck when I went to pick it up. He was pushing from there, like we were pushing it up the ramp, and he was pushing from the bar and the crossbar. Really solid. It looks good. Jess got on the bike for like a little 30-minute, like around the neighborhood, around our little town here, like our part of town, just to make sure that they worked for her. Cause that was the whole concern, was like, if they didn't work, if her legs were still uncomfortable, then it was kind of a wasted effort.
Right.
And definitely not. She said that she can't tell they're there anymore. I looked at her sitting on the bike, and her feet are able to go exactly where she wants them. And they're not really touching the bags at all.
It's funny because I wonder sometimes when they, not necessarily his product, but in general, when they design mounts and racks for hard bags, if they actually put somebody on the pillion, because the original SW Motec racks, the ones that come OEM with the Stelvio, it's almost impossible to ride the pillion spot because the bag is so high and so far forward. There's a couple guys that have like made adapter plates where you can run it between that rack and the box to kind of get it out of the way. But I think that they'd actually like sit somebody down on there and design it around that, Or am I?
Yeah, that would make sense, but I feel like they probably don't do a lot of that.
Right. So now it looks good and everything. You know what? Why don't you send me those pictures and I'll put them up in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll make sure you get the pictures.
Everybody's looking at Instagram.
Yeah. So that worked out really well. It's the first time I've gotten to ride the bike since I painted it, and since I did the bags. Got some compliments from a buddy of mine at work. And then I've also got those tank pads on there, and they feel good. I like them.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I hadn't thought about that I never really noticed before, when I had the bags on the rack before, the old mounts, they kind of wobbled because those tubes were thin.
Mm-hmm.
And I could feel that, and I didn't notice it until I've ridden now with a bike with the new setup where they're rock solid, and I don't feel like something behind me is flapping around as I'm riding down the road. I mean, I've gone 110 miles an hour with these things on now.
110? And you're admitting?
Yeah. Yeah.
My God.
I'm not going to say where.
Okay. You won't tell anybody. You won't tell
anybody. Yeah. I got up to like 110 one day with those bags on and on the rack. And, you know, I felt, I didn't feel anything back there. So it was really nice to have that like smooth, you know, sensation. Because like I said, I never noticed it before, but I could feel them like vibrating, like flapping around. Probably because those little tubes were metal, and they were thin metal, and they were vibrating.
What did he make the new ones out of? 1/8 inch?
5/16.
5/16.
So a little over half inch. Yeah. They were, I want to say, like 3/8 inch tubing before, so a little under half inch, maybe half inch tubing. They're 5/16 tubing now because the bags mount properly on 5/16 tubing. And so instead when I used to have the old racks, they had like a combination of 5/16 and 1/2. And then now the new ones are just all 5/16, and it looks really good. The welds are clean, the tubes, it all looks good. And I feel like it'll look fine with the bags off the bike too.
Wait a second. 5/16 is less than a half inch, isn't it? 9/16 is 8/16 is a half inch.
You're right. Yeah. Maybe it's 9/16 tubing.
Probably. Yeah.
I don't know. I could measure it.
Yeah. Either way, you know, if it's more durable than it was before, that's one of the things that going forward with the KTM, I'm going to look for a hard bag option. And I kind of like what we looked at AIM was Trax's new bags that they came.
Those look really good.
Yeah, they do. And I like the fact that the tops come off and they kind of dual locking, and we'll see. I definitely want to get something that I can adapt. The rack will take a soft bag as well. You know.
Yeah. I'm going to go grab something really quick.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to talk about
show and tell for the video show.
I got some mail is what I want to talk about.
Okay.
So I got a letter from Chris, not my partner, co-host, but another Chris. He says, "Hey, Steve, how are the pilots doing? I think I have 8,000 miles on mine so far, wearing great still. I was just listening to you and Chris geeking out on mollywebbing. You know, Magpul. Some inside baseball. I'm here in Colorado. The company I work for, I'm a quality engineer. We do plastic molding. I'm on the phone with Magpul probably 5 times a day. Did you know that they make motorcycles? I did not know that. Get this. The 2 guys that started Magpul, one is a designer. They're motorcycle nuts. They started a company that's fringe to Magpul called Ronin 47. They build custom bikes, 47 of them, based off the Ducati motored Buells, if I remember correctly. Now I don't remember a Buell ever having a Ducati motor in it.
I don't either. I'm wondering if he's thinking of like the 1125 that had a non-Harley motor in it.
Rotax motor, yeah. Google Ronin 47 and check it out. I've never ventured to Denver, see where they are making these. Another company I used to work for was 5 blocks from Wolfman Luggage. Cool guys over there. They have small showroom in front of their production ops. So, you know, it's funny because I had seen Ronin 47 before. I just didn't realize it had any relationship to Magpul.
Yeah, I've heard of them as well.
Kind of cool. Yeah. Magpul's a really great and innovative company. And, you know, they started from one little simple product that was a little device that you slipped over the back end of a magazine to pull it out of your body armor. And that's how the name Magpul came about. But I'll have to check into the Ronin 47, maybe get some pictures and put them up. It sounds like it's pretty neat. You know, most of these guys that are in engineering seem to be motorcycle geeks, which is great because it's just more stuff they make for us.
Right.
I'll have to check that out. And as far as my pilots are doing, Chris, they are no longer on the bike because I sold it. But up until the day I sold it, the PR4s, the Pilot Road 4s, were phenomenal. Great tires in the rain. They really weren't, even though they call them the PR4 trails, it was only because of the size that they were offered in. The compound was a little bit different than the road tires. So other than that, they didn't have, the treading wasn't any different than the road tires. They were identical. So I never really got a chance to run them off road, but because I commute so much, they were phenomenal on especially in the rain. They were great tires in wet weather. Incredible. The new bike's got Continental Trail Attack 2s on there, which are, I kind of feel like they wander a little bit, but that may be just me and getting used to the suspension. So, we'll see. I had the Trail Attack 2s on the Stelvio too, and they wore out really quick.
So,
back to the work that was done on the Bonneville.
Well, no, I now that I have the bike back as well, I've noticed that the bike lives outside again, and I'm a 1.5 miles from the ocean. So like corrosion is, kind of top of mind. I noticed parts on the bike getting corroded that hadn't gotten corroded before. There's some hardware I'm just going to straight up change out.
Let me ask you something. Have you tried any of the ACF 50 on it?
You mean this stuff right here?
Yeah.
Not yet, because I just got the bike back. Got this ordered. I ordered this on Amazon, or actually, to be specific, Jess ordered it for me on Amazon one day because I was talking about it. And I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but it's my project for tomorrow. So I'm going to work on that tomorrow. I was looking at this stuff
right here.
When I
still have this.
I have that little tiny thing, but I hadn't used it yet.
You know what's cool about this thing? I noticed what I was playing around with it is that where you have like screw heads or bolt heads that are exposed to the weather, like on the handlebar mounts, this is kind of really nice and easy to drop it in there. And believe it or not, mine was starting to get a little bit of white powdery corrosion on it and gone.
Nice.
Yeah.
Something I noticed, like I'm in naval aviation for the few people on the show that don't know that. And this meets requirements for a certain type of corrosion preventative compound we use at work. Mm-hmm. So like it has the mil spec on it. And it really makes me curious, like if I could have just kind of like nabbed a can of what we use at work and done the same thing with it. But I don't recall the stuff that we use at work claiming to do the things that this claims to do. So I'm curious if like this meets the standard but does other things, and the other stuff we use is just kind of like bare minimum.
I don't know, because
I don't know.
They use is swear by it. You know what the funny thing is on this little bottle that they gave us at the show, it specifically talked about motorcycle stuff, battery terminals, voltage regulators. So it's rated to be used on electrical components.
Yeah. That's the mil spec that this talks about is an avionics corrosion like preventative compound.
Could you order this through the shop? Through the aviation shop?
I don't think so. The method by which we get our hazmat is like kind of weird. Like I used to run the program at my last command, so like I know everything we'd have to do to be able to get this, and if it's available to the military, we'd have to like submit a whole bunch of paperwork to get it approved for us when we already have another product that's doing the same thing. And so it would just be kind of a tricky thing, because the base would be like, okay, well, the other 50 commands all want this can of stuff, but you want this other can that meets the same requirements. We're just going to give you the can that everybody else orders.
Right. So let me tell you something. I'm reading this. It says prevents and deactivates corrosion, which I tried that. Penetrates and lubricates mechanisms. Displaces salt or fresh water. So
yep. Yeah, I need that.
I'm out in the garage and I forgot to clean my wife's ice cream maker. So it had ice cream rock salt all over the metal part. You know what that looked like. So I sprayed 50 on it and wiped it off, and now it's just stained a little bit, but all the corrosion's gone.
Cool.
You know what?
I got something too. Go ahead.
You might want to look into. Remember I told you about that bag I saw at IMS that you can drive your bike over? Yeah.
Yeah, I got to find that thing. But in the meantime, I got our friend Jess at Twisted Throttle, not my Jess, their Jess, was kind enough to send me a cover for my bike.
Oh, they aren't.
It's the RNG sport bike cover. It's it's pretty much like I looked around at different reviews websites and stuff like that. Like this is like the highest reviewed cover of all the bike covers. So I got that now. I'm like I said, tomorrow my project is I'm gonna go over the bike with the ACF 50 and then put it in a bag, and hopefully that'll keep it good.
Some pictures of that cover on the bike. That looks like a nice cover.
Yeah, I'm curious if it'll fit with the saddlebags on, because the saddlebags are soft, so they smush down, and I might just have to get the air out of them.
Yeah, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking of the new Triumphs? I've been doing some reading on them and looking at the Thruxton.
Well, did you see pricing came out for a couple of the models today?
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Okay, so they didn't release Thruxton prices, but they released Street Tracker, which is the 900, and T120, which is the Bonneville 1200 pricing. The Street Tracker is like 85, which is pretty much right in line with the existing 900cc models.
Right.
900, my bike is a 900 in air quotes. So, it's right in line with those. Like it's, like I said, pretty much the same. And then the T120s are starting at 11.5.
About $1,000 more, right, than they were? Weren't they 10 something?
I don't know what they were at. I know that in 2009 when I bought mine, they were like 93.
I thought they were a little bit more, but
they might have crept up a little since then.
They are, and I've been hearing everything from the low 15s to 20,000.
Right. I think looking at the cost of the T120, it's right. the most expensive T120 is 12.7 or something like that. The Thruxton is probably really similar, like the non-R. The Thruxton, regular Thruxton, is probably right around the same price point because it's pretty much the same bike, just with different running gear, different handlebars, stuff like that. Probably really close. The R is probably a couple $1,000s worth of upgrades more, so I wouldn't be that surprised to see it at 15. I wouldn't pay for it at 15, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was that.
So much, I really do. It's such a cool looking bike.
Yeah, I agree. You and I, you sent me a text message the other day that said, "Hey, listen to the latest Wheel Nerds episode." And first of all, I want to say that was a great episode. If you guys don't listen to the Wheel Nerds. Like, if you don't listen to Wheel Nerds, everybody, go out and check them out. They swear more than we do. Just so you know, in case you would listen with children or whatever. But they had Spencer Hill, the gear dude, on, and it was a really good episode. Even if you don't count Spencer's good part, like just their regular episode was a good episode. They talked a lot about how both of them feel about the Bonnevilles, the new Triumphs, and me and Chuck share. Like, he had a Thruxton, and he and I do not share opinions on the Bonneville and Thruxton motorcycles. So we disagree.
They're not. It's not for everybody. Like every other motorcycle made,
Sure, yeah.
Things that people absolutely love and I can't stand, but I like that. And maybe I'm just looking at it from an aesthetic standpoint right now, but the R, the way it looks, I'm sure you could make the other bikes look like that by dumping money and time into it. But for a off the showroom floor factory look, I like the way that R looks. The same thing with the V7. I like the way it looks. We always get, every time I bring it up, I get crap from John Jones about what a piece of crap the motor. Well, he just basically says it's underpowered. That's for that bike. That's really not the concern. I like the way it looks. I like the aesthetics. I like the way that motor makes me feel when I ride it. That's why I like riding the Le Mans. It's a pig, and it's underpowered, but I don't care. It's fun to ride. You rode it.
I really liked the Le Mans. I think I liked the Le Mans more than I liked the V7 Stone that I rode.
Completely different,
Right. Yeah.
How do you feel about the Le Mans compared to the Bonneville platform?
I wish that it makes me wish that Moto Guzzi was making the Le Mans still, and that I had one.
I kind of
Like,
wish they did too. That
like compared to my bike, like compared to the Bonneville, there were some things I don't like about the Le Mans, but it was mostly just the only thing I really didn't like was the gauge cluster.
yeah, the shaking of it moving around like that.
Yeah, and just I'm not a fan of like the carbon fiber piece that it's mounted on. I think I don't like the way it looks.
Right.
But other than that, like that's really not a lot. That's very little. And I would change that anyway. I'm on my third gauge setup on the Bonneville already. Like
to tinker with that stuff. Right.
Yeah. Plus, highway or Interstate 8 killed all my gauges, so I had to buy new ones.
It's just that the Thruxton R is to me is a neat looking bike. I like.
Now you're thinking of the one with the fairing too, right?
Right. With the fairing, it's got that dustbin half fairing on it. That old school look to it that I really like a Paul Smart.
I think it's gorgeous. And as far as to comment on what the Wheel Nerds said, they felt like the older ones didn't have much character, and I can kind of see that. Like the motor, especially, I've never ridden a Scrambler, and I really want to ride a Triumph Scrambler because it's the only Bonneville frame bike that had the 270-degree crank.
Right.
Mine has the 360. The Thruxton had a 360, and so it has a very kind of like very even, measured mechanical feel, like not a whole lot of like lumpiness or kind of irregularity.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that contributed some to, their feeling that it didn't have much of a soul. And I can kind of see that. And then Todd complained about the Thruxton's steering angle and how it felt sluggish. Well, my Bonneville has shocks on the rear that are too tall, which changes my steering angle. So maybe I have eliminated that concern, or maybe I just don't care as much. Probably a combination of the two. So I don't know. I really like the bike. Obviously, it's not for everybody. But I can understand some of their concerns. The new ones, I think, look better. That they've tweaked a few things. I think the bike looks a lot better. And the Thruxton R with that fairing on it from the factory with upside down forks and Brembo monoblock brakes and all that stuff, it's like, if I were to go out and build the bike today, that's what I would want.
And really, then the ultimate test is a test ride. So I can sit here and talk about how much I like the way things look, but then if the bike is a dog when you ride it, or it doesn't kind of, like Todd said, you feel sluggish in corners, or it doesn't handle well, then forget it. And, that's kind of the experience I have with the Royal Enfield with the Continental, because I love the way that bike looks. I think it's really cool. But when I rode it, now keep in mind that the one I rode might not have been set up right, but it vibrated so bad that I couldn't spend 15 minutes on the bike.
I totally feel your pain. When the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride 2 years ago, like 2 rides ago, I was riding alongside an Enfield for a lot of that time, and anytime we were at a stoplight, it looked like his front wheel was going to shake apart.
And some people have said to me, well, that's because the bike was set up the wrong way. The owner of that bike actually took it back to the dealer, and he said when he got it back, it was marginally better. Marginally, he said. He didn't trade that bike in. He got rid of it. And people are, well, what do you expect? It's a thumper. And I've ridden thumpers before that didn't vibrate as bad as this thing did. And maybe it's design in it. It's the same experience I had with the SD 1300. I thought it was I fell in love with that bike when it first came out, looking at it in the ads. And then I did a test ride on one in Daytona and still thought it was really cool. But after I owned it, it was like, talk about no character. It was the boringest ride I've ever had. I mean, it got to the point where I just didn't want to ride the bike anymore. It was that boring. But that's me. That's just, there's people that I know that have 100,000 miles on an ST 1300 that do iron butt stuff, that love the bike and rave about it, but it just wasn't my cup of tea, and that's okay. So It's the same way I feel about, what Chuck and Todd feel about the Triumphs. That's cool. If they don't like them, they don't like them,
Yeah. What else did they talk about? Oh, they talked about, I'm just kind of thinking, like, because they talk about first ride up to the divide. Spencer's.
We'll talk about that since
thing, yeah,
kind of out of the bag with that.
Yeah. We definitely we'll have Spencer on to talk about it for sure.
Hopefully next show, because I talked to him this week about it and couldn't get our scheduling together, but the next show, and he's going to bring one of the guys with him. And just to go over what the premise of that is again, real quick, is Spencer came up with this concept that adventure riding doesn't have to be inaccessible. In other words, pretty much anybody can do it. And what they're going to do is they're going to go 3 guys that have been riding motorcycles for a while are going to take 2 guys that have never ridden a motorcycle before on the Continental Divide trail ride, which I'm not being very specific, not the actual bicycle trail, but there's a motorcycle trail that's been laid out by some guys on ADV Rider. One of them is this guy, GPS Kevin. And it kind of mirrors some of the bicycle trail. And these guys are going to go to MSTF class, Motorcycle Safety Foundation, right? Am I saying it right?
MSF.
MSF. I don't know where they got the T from. And
Motorcycle Sport Touring Association.
Right. I kind of combined the two, didn't I?
Yeah.
And then they're going to go on this ride. And what he mentioned, which we haven't really been talking about on Wheel Nerds, is I'm one of the 3 guys. So yeah, we haven't talked about that because I didn't really want to say anything until I was certain I could go, and now I'm pretty much certain I can go. So
good, that's exciting. And he mentioned me trying to go as well.
Yeah, and we're gonna see if we can work that out, right?
I'm less certain still.
You're less certain. It all depends on what the U.S. government has in store for you.
It does. I honestly, at this point, don't even know what command I'm going to be attached to at that point.
Right. Because right now you're doing some babysitting, correct?
Something like that. Yeah. I'm kind of, I got assigned over to a different command that was severely undermanned because of weird government funding stuff. They were going to shut down because the Navy was like, we don't need you guys anymore. We're going to close doors. And then they were like, just kidding. We're keeping you open. But we lost all our people already. So I'm over there, and I may stay permanently.
I think you sent me that article in the Navy Times, didn't you, about that?
I don't know, but there was an article. There were a couple articles because those guys were kind of a unique command with a unique mission. They work primarily with special forces, and that's it.
Right.
Using some of the oldest helicopters the Navy has these days.
They're not Pavlos, are they? What are they?
They're a version of the H-60.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, we use the ones at my old commander also. They're new H-60s. These are just H-60s from the early 90s, as opposed to the ones that I work on now, which were made 2 years ago. A lot of them are 2 or 3 years old.
So if we can work it out, we're going to try to have you on part of the trip. And I was texting the other day, and him and Todd are talking about coming out for part of it, which it would be a lot of fun. It really would, to have us all out there. I'm really looking forward to it. We're in the planning stages now. And the funny thing is, I was talking to Spencer the other day. I don't even know if I should be telling you this, but he said that he's been getting emails from people saying, where do I sign up for this? Right. How do I pay for it? And he's like, no, that's not what's going on. But he's been getting huge traffic on the website. So it's going to be cool. It's a really cool premise that the guys that are going are really interesting. We're going to have one of them on with Spencer, and yeah, so it'll be fun. I'm going to shoot a ton of video. We're going to do some recordings. I don't think we're going to be able to do anything live at all because of the where we're going to be and the lack of bandwidth.
Sure.
Wi-Fi, but I'm going to record a bunch and do a bunch of video, and it'll be cool. It's going to be published out as a web series on YouTube, and Spencer's going to have a good time with us. So and the ride is, I'm not, I was really kind of concerned about it when we first talked about it, because this kind of whole thing came up when we were at AIM, sitting around.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how he basically hypnotized me into buying a KTM too.
He's a persuasive guy.
After sitting there and telling us how much problems that he's had and how they just destroy themselves and everything.
Yeah.
And then he prefaced it, well, you should buy one. So, I was kind of worried about taking that size of a bike on a trip like that. And then the more research I do, and the more I look at the route and see that there's additional routing, like if there's areas of it that I'm not going to feel comfortable on, I'm just going to go around it. So I'm not really worried about it. I'm not concerned at all anymore.
Good. I'm definitely not going to be able to take the whole trip. But yeah, if I can just like figure out a way to get out there for like to meet you guys, for part of the day, and then.
And the thing is, you don't even have to bring a tent because I got the Redverse tent with me, so it's so big that we both be in there. Just bring a sleeping bag, and we should be okay. But hopefully this will be a lot of fun, and you'll be able to make part of it. How long would that? How long is Colorado from you?
Let's see. Depends on how I go, and where in Colorado, I guess.
8 hours, you think, maybe, or?
Oh, probably more than that. Because it's 11 hours from here to Salt Lake.
Okay.
So
I talked to KTM, my local dealer, this morning about shipping the bike out there for me, and they're going to give me some options on it. They have some freight forwarding that they use. So we're going to see how that works out. Because just from time constraints, I might not be able to ride all the way to the southern border and then ride all the way home. So I'm shipping the bike and shipping it home and flying out, but we'll see. And we'll keep you guys abreast of that plans on that and link to Spencer's page. But for now, you can check out on Facebook, First Ride Up the Divide. And we'll have all the links in the show notes for that. He's got some Instagram stuff going too, and it's pretty cool. And like I said, we'll have him on the next show. He was just on the Wheel Nerds, so we'll have him on the next show.
Yeah.
But they had a really cool show. It was great. If you don't
It was a really good episode.
Yeah, you can find them at wheelnerds.com. And it was informative. It was good. What else? What else you been doing?
Well, I got engaged. That happened. Yeah, that happened. That was right
crash now.
Soon.
Okay.
Yeah, that was right before Thanksgiving.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, there was that.
Now we need to really put her to work.
Yeah, seriously. Like, she actually just got back from lunch or to start lunch or something.
Okay.
I mean, work is like literally less than a stone's throw away, but
that's big news. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
That's the map too.
She I got a haircut today. That's news.
Check it out.
Yeah. Oh, nice. You got a haircut today too?
I got one today too.
Oh.
I went did a bunch of chores and replaced a bunch of light bulbs, fixed the electric gate out front at the compound here. And this room right now, though, is, if I could show you the floor, I'd be embarrassed, but it's covered in male camping gear and guns right now. So I need to put stuff back in the safe from the hunting trip. All those boxes over in the corner for eBay crap I need to start either getting rid of, but I've been busy, man. Work has been just crazy. And that was the other thing I told you about, is I'm probably going to be going back to school. So
yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I don't know how exciting it actually is. I'm a little nervous about it because it's been a long time.
I'm starting school again next January. So
are you going to the class you and I talked about? Was that a officer development course?
Oh no, I'm just taking just going back to college. Working on my bachelor's degree.
Right. But yeah, for me, I'm going to apply. The chances of getting in this school are it might be tough because from what I understand, they don't take a lot of people and they get a lot of applicants, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It's, work related, but hopefully it won't mess up my riding time at all.
Right.
That's all I really care about is how much I get to ride my motorcycle. That's the only good part about living in Florida too, is when I look on ADV Rider and see all these guys bitching about having to winterize their bike and put it away for the winter. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going for a ride. See ya. But speaking of that, rides in January, I'll tell you where I'm going to be in January. This is going to be cool and a little maybe scary. There's something called the Polar Bear Adventure Rally, January 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, which I will put on the show notes. But this is a dual sport rally in northern Florida, and it's on ADV Moto. I'll send a link. I think it's there's no charge, so really it's just a matter of getting a camping spot or a hotel. From what I understand, there's not much left in the campground. It's at the Gold Head Branch State Park in Keystone Heights, Florida. But this looks really cool. And really what kind of got me interested in it is they're going to do a day of like technical instruction for new people who've never ridden big ADV bikes in sand.
Oh, that's good. People need that.
Yeah. There's a bunch of like dual sport A and B routes for guys running smaller dual sport bikes, but they've got some routes specifically for the big adventure bikes, and they even do a road only route. From what I've seen and heard from people who've been to this before, it's a lot of fun, and they do all kinds of giveaways. They're giving away climb gear and helmets and a bunch of stuff. So I'll post a link on this. I'm definitely going to be there, probably Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for that, maybe Thursday. And then I'm also going to try to make the IMS show in early January in Miami. So if you're in
If
Miami,
you see that bag, then let me know. That like motorcycle bag that you zip up.
yeah, you know what? And I'm sorry I didn't get you some information on it last time, but it actually looked kind of cool. What we're talking about is they make this thing that it's a cover that you actually it's actually a bag that you zip the bike into. You drive onto it, so the bike is completely encapsulated, unlike a cover which goes over the bike. And it's designed for areas just like where Crash is living, where there's like salt spray and things like that. And apparently, the bag is impregnated with an anti-corrosion type of. Yeah, I guess it, for lack of a better term, it probably off gases when the bike is covered, right?
I don't know. I mean, because like I was thinking about that. There's the it makes me kind of think of like a gun sock. You know, they have the ones that have the corrosion and anti-corrosion like impregnated stuff. You just, slip your gun in and
It's like silicone though, could have been. I mean, that's got to like touch the gun, right? This thing doesn't complete. It's not like, you know, sucking onto the bike. It's zipped into it so that the atmosphere inside there then becomes an anti-corrosion, I guess. Like I felt the inside of it and it didn't feel like it was wet. You know, when you touch those silicone gun socks, they kind of have a wet quality to them a little bit. I don't know.
yeah, that's true.
Let's see.
I don't
I'm
know.
gonna try to find the information online first. I forgot what the thing is called. I'm sure there's probably some listeners that know that'll send it to us. But if they're at IMS again, I'll send it to you. Uh, that was kind of a disappointing show, honestly. But I think after going to AIM, it kind of spoiled me. And it's just a different crowd too. It's not really the same type of. It's not an industry show like AIM is. It's really done more of a consumer show, right?
Yeah, definitely.
This week is the one in New York at the Javits Center. I've been seeing a lot of posts about that, and that's certainly a different show and probably more like the one in Long Beach, right?
Yeah, I've never been to the one in Long Beach because I haven't been able to make it yet. But one of these days, I'm going.
Yeah, I felt bad. You were trying to get off work to go, and I'm actually looking through business cards right now to see if I had a card from that guy, because I really wanted you to see it. But I don't even remember what the damn thing was called.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Anyway, other than that, I've been looking at I keep going back and looking at the Yamaha, that XSR
Yeah.
100. Yeah, that's another thing that I really like a lot too. Honestly, I think that would be a bike that that would be like one of the only naked bikes that I would buy that I really like a lot. Um, it's just like the way the whole thing's done. It's
hmm
so cool looking, and especially since they have the black and yellow Bumblebee colors. That's like one of my favorite things that Yamaha's ever done. Any bike that had that on there, I liked a lot. But
yeah, I definitely like that paint scheme.
other than that, there hasn't been a lot that's been out that I've been really super excited about. The Ducati that they came out with, the smaller size scramblers, I don't see the point with the price point that they're at.
Yeah, at that price point, it's kind of silly. The bike itself looks neat, but
Doesn't make any sense. So it's
price
like
point kind of sucks.
less than the standard size one, than the 900, right? Or am I off the mark on that? No.
What did you say? I didn't catch it.
$400 or $500 less?
Yeah, I think it wasn't a lot less.
No. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, really. I mean, unless you just absolutely had to have a small displacement motorcycle, you know. And then they came out with the Enduro, which we talked about last show, which, you know, is kind of gunning for the GS Adventure and the KTM Super Adventure, which I think they made the right step there with a 19-inch front wheel and a big fuel tank and the electronics package on it. But the thing I don't like about it is it still has the Ducati Multistrada seating position, which is really cramped. Have you ever sat on a Multistrada before?
No, they're just so ugly. I can't do it.
You don't like the way they look?
It's one of those things like, you know, Todd and Chuck don't like the Bonneville. I don't like the Multistrada.
What don't you like about it? The big giant nostril-y beak on the front?
Yes.
Inhaling everything in that it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
everywhere you go. Big old pig nose, just like.
What do you like worse, that or the V-Strom?
Oh, I would ride the Multistrada over the V-Strom any day.
And the only problem with the V-Strom is it's the bend in the beak.
Mm-hmm.
I can live with the beak. I'm okay. I'm not a non-beak, anti-beak guy, but it's the bend in the beak. It's the hump in the beak that makes it bird-like.
Yeah, that one's especially offensive.
Yeah.
But the other reason is like they're both ugly to me, but the one's a Ducati and the other one's a Suzuki. It's like, okay, I'll go with the ugly Italian bike versus the ugly, you know,
It's like
stamped sheet metal Japanese thing.
I'm not going to say it. Well, it's really inappropriate, but it had something to do with dating. Anyway.
Okay.
We get talking about V-Stroms. Me personally, I think the original one was the best looking one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. The old 1000 is great.
With the fixed windscreen, the one that I had was, I thought, the best looking one. And they just got uglier after that. But I don't know. I kind of like Multistrada, especially the Pikes Peak one. I think those are cool.
I'll have to look at that one again.
Yeah, it's kind of got like a lower windscreen. Here's the problem with them that I don't like is when you sit on them, there's nowhere to move on the seat. You're locked into that position. So,
I don't like the sound of that.
No, it's kind of uncomfortable. And to me, you're more like in that bike than anything I've ever sat on before. So I'm not a big fan of that. That's just my personal preference. So they didn't really change that at all with the Enduro. It's the same.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be, $25,000, I think. Something like that. With the options. It comes with some flavor of hard bag on it, which, that's about the Super Adventure. The bags on there they're kind of, I don't want to say. I mean, I've read a couple reports, people that have like laid the bike down, not, just fell over like on off-road and had no damage to the bags, but they don't look real rugged to me.
Yeah.
The notches are kind of fiddly on them. So
do they, just out of curiosity, do they come on and off the bike easily?
Yeah, really easy. So
with stuff in them? Like, do you have to unpack them to disconnect them?
No. That's the really nice thing about them. Whereas like a Touratech bag, to get to the pucks, off, you got to empty them out. And that was one thing I liked about the SW Motec Trax bags. You didn't have to do that. You just unlocked this thing on the back on one of the latches, and they slid off the rack. The way
go ahead. Sorry.
No, because
I was just gonna say there's another company that makes a bag that looks like it could survive the apocalypse and comes on and off really easily. Is Metal Mule. I don't know if you've seen those.
There was an interesting there's a show on YouTube called, I think, like Adventure Bike TV. It's out of the UK, and the guy did a bag test recently where he took them off and like submerged them underwater to see if they would leak, used a garden hose like up underneath the rim, shot them with like a little crossbow thing, did all this like destructive stuff to see how long, like dropped them off a cliff to see if the top stayed on. And Metal Mule was one of the ones that he had in there that didn't too bad. But there was also another company called Boomont, Bumont. They're like out of somewhere in Eastern Europe.
Interesting. Never heard of those guys.
Yeah, nice built rack for him, and the bags did really well. He also tested Jesse's too, which,
those are a lot of money.
Yeah, and the aesthetics on those are just not for me. They're too kind of coffin-y looking, I guess.
Yeah, there's like a kind of angular, like, and then the lids come down, and there's such a smooth transition. There's not like a really, they look like a single chunk of metal instead of like a box with a lid.
And I do believe the Jesse's the same thing, that, and I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that the latch unlatches from inside, and you got to take everything out to get them off. But getting back to the KTM ones, the way they work is there's a cutout in the top of the box that corresponds over another piece on the bike that once the bags are off, you really can't tell that there's mounts on there. So they only mount like at the top, and then there's two little pieces like fins. So you put them on and then you push them forward and they lock into place. The cool thing about them, the key is 3 positions. So there's a lock position, which locks everything. And then there's a middle position where you can open and close the bags and leave them unlocked. But then the latch itself stays locked. And then the third position, you turn it all the way, it clicks open, and the latch is released in the back. So you pull those latches open and the bags slip off. But I have them both packed right now in the garage full of work clothes and tools and stuff, and they're off the bike. I'll just slide them back on. I'm actually, after the show, I'm going to run out to do some shopping at Staples, and I'm going to throw them back on, take the bike out.
Cool.
But because they only mount in that one spot, I'm a little nervous about if for some reason I did take a little spill on a trail or something and landed on them, if they would break that mount, and then you're
right
stuck. There wouldn't even be an easy way to get home without like strapping the thing to the back,
Yeah, to kind of like make it stay. Like, I mean, my bags have like 2 individual clips on the top and then 2 little feet that hook on the bottom. So like if one of those broke, okay, yeah, my bag isn't quite as secure, but it's probably still going to stay. Or I could like get up in there and like safety wire it on or something.
The other thing is with the way this mounts on there too, there's no way to mount a soft bag other than like the Moscow Reckless system would be the only option I would have. Would to be used out where there's no mounting hardware at all required. It's a rackless system. They make a 40 and an 80 liter, and the only problem with those is they're completely sold out until next year. That's why I'm kind of looking at maybe replacing them with the Trax maybe, or Touratech. I don't know. I just got to do some more research. Even those Beaumont, they look interesting. And I think what I would probably do is, because I don't really need to recoup any money off of them, would be to take the stock bags, clean them up, and just put them in the attic. Because if I ever sell the bike, I'll put everything back stock and then sell it or trade it in the way it was, the way I got it.
Yeah, that's something that I kind of, I mean, I'd need a storage unit just for that stuff,
right,
from the Bonneville. But like, I kind of wish I had done that. Like I could just put everything back on the bike that was ever on it, and then sell off my little accessory pieces separately.
Well, to be honest with you, unless you really find somebody who wants the bike outfitted exactly like you did it, because when I sold the Tiger, there was a couple of people that said, I don't want the stuff that's on it. What price will you give me without everything that's on it? And honestly, I didn't price it with that stuff on there. So I was like, well, it's kind of in line with what, Cycle Trader's been selling in eBay and Kelley Blue Book. When I got rid of that, when I traded the Stelvio in, the guy at the dealership, because he wholesaled the bike out, he actually said, take everything off of it, make it back as stock as possible. So I did sell a lot of that stuff on eBay. I got rid of, I took the pivot pegs off. I took the Wunderlich windshield off. I still have that. Some other parts I sold. So, it's the funny thing is, like, we were having this discussion on ADV Rider about the kickstand footprint, and somebody had mentioned just welding like a large washer on the bottom of the kickstand. Well, now your bike's not stock anymore. And
Yeah.
you may have somebody who wants the bike pristine in stock and looks at that and goes, I don't want that stupid thing welded on the bottom of the kickstand. So I'd rather just have non-permanent modifications that I can, take off and change. I think the only thing that I left on the Stelvio was the horn. I had a Stabile or something on there.
Yeah.
And that's
the Bonneville is just stuck the way it is. Like, whoever gets it is getting it just like that if I ever get rid of it.
But that bike's not offensive. It's neat, especially now with the new paint job on it. I like the way it looks a lot.
I do too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Did you keep the other tank or not?
Oh no, I threw that thing away. I had to scavenge parts from it to even like install this tank.
Sold it on eBay. I'm telling you, somebody would have bought it.
Maybe.
That's why I've got an attic full of old parts of the 10A, because when I get rid of that thing, well, that'll probably all go with it if I ever get rid of it. But anyway, that's about all I got right now.
Yeah, me too.
So just to recap again, IMS in Miami, I'm going to post the dates there. I'll be there for that. The Polar Bear Rally in northern Florida next year, early next year. I'll post the dates for that. Are you going to be anywhere coming up?
I will be at home.
The Navy base?
Yeah, I'll be working, and I'll be off for a couple weeks, but nowhere motorcycle related. There's not... I think Mods versus Rockers is coming up here in like January, but I don't know when. I'd have to look it up.
You got to go to that. We haven't had any really good cafe coverage in a while, and I'm really jonesing for Ace Cafe to open. So I got my T-shirt on today, but yeah, you got to go to that Mods versus Rockers and get some photos. Yeah. So first, right up the Divide, we'll post that information and send us some letters, guys. We've been getting some cool ones, but most of them were just been personal to us, and we've been answering them back. And check out our Patreon page. Did we get any information on upgrading the website yet? Have you gotten any feedback?
No.
Okay. Sounded pretty from you.
Yeah. If anybody out there does web design and wants to, help us out,
and not
let us know.
Like Kitty Cat web, because I got somebody that sent me their samples that were all like little cat pages and stuff. So no, we don't want a kitty cat themed website.
We don't?
No.
Oh.
Do you? You like cats?
No, not really.
Yeah. I mean, they're okay, but I don't want them on a motorcycle page. Anyway, that's all I got, man.
All right. Yeah. Get out there and ride.
See you guys.